Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I'm so glad that you've joined us. We have a lot to cover. We're going to talk about Artemis 2. Obviously, a lot here about Iran as the deadline nears 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll talk about that. I also have quite a few topics that there's no way to segue through, but I think they're all necessary to bring up and also to kind of maybe pique your interest and get your opinions on. Let's first go to some viewer comments. We received a couple at the end of the program yesterday. Here we go. Good morning, Frank. Enjoy the show. Well, thank you very much. I trust you had a peaceful and enjoyable Easter with your family. Thank you for what you do. Well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Comment from a different viewer. This is off topic, but did you know that you can't bet on horse racing in New York on Christmas and Easter? I'd like to think that they were taking a moral high ground stance, but we're talking about New York. Lottery tickets, tobacco, and alcohol are available any day. They used to stop drawing on Christmas of the lotto. I don't know if that's changed. But I know there was no quick draw, no lotto. I'm not sure if that's still the case. A different comment. Although I'm sometimes surprised by Trump's choice of words, he's not my pastor. He's my president. And he doesn't pay off enemies with pallets full of cash. He inflames their egos to make them stick their heads out of their holes. The left won't like this, but Trump will go down as the greatest president and the most well-known name in history. Thank you very much. I do appreciate those comments. Yesterday, Trump congratulated Artemis 2 astronauts following the historic trip around the moon, calling them modern-day pioneers, and he invited them to the White House. You've made history and made all America really proud, incredibly proud, Trump told the 4 astronauts just hours after they emerged from the far side of the moon. Humans have really never seen anything quite like what you're doing in a manned spacecraft. It's really special. The commander-in-chief was introduced to the crew by NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman, who noted the president wanted to be the first person to greet you after your return from the far side of the moon. The president said, I just wanted to honor to speak to you, and I wanted to congratulate each and every one of you. He also peppered the crew with questions about the trip. Tell me, what is the most unforgettable part of this really historic day? The whole world is watching and listening. Please tell me. Commander Reed Wiseman told Trump it was seeing all the sights that we've seen from Earth for all of our lives, but seeing them from a different perspective, as well as catching a glimpse of sights on the dark side of the moon that no human has ever seen before. Mission specialist Christina Koch explained that for her, the most exciting part was seeing Earth after being out of communications for about 45 minutes. It really just reminds you what a special place we have. Trump asked the crew what it felt like having zero communications with NASA while on the far side of the moon. Victor Glover said, I said a little prayer, but I had to keep rolling. I was actually recording scientific observations of the far side of the moon. We were busy up here working really hard. The president then inquired if the astronauts noted any differences between the far and near sides of the moon. We certainly did, said mission specialist Jeremy Hansen, who explained the gravitational pull of the Earth creates dramatic differences between the lunar escapes. Trump informed Hansen, who was Canadian, that he spoke with hockey legend Wayne Gretzky and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and relayed that both are proud of his inclusion on the mission. I'm not sure if they wanted to do that, the president quipped. I look forward to seeing you in the Oval Office. I'll ask Jared Isaacman to bring you over. I'll ask for your autographs because I don't really ask for autographs much, but you deserve that. You really are something. Now, the astronauts' journey back to Earth will take 4 days, with the capsule expected to splash down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego around 8:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday. Oh, my goodness. A truck just pulled up with a lot of snow. Okay, so I guess up in the higher elevations, we may have some snow this morning. Keep that in mind on your way into school or your way into work. Now, the crew also noted that much of the terrain appeared brown on the moon, while distinct greenish tones showed up in isolated areas. Mission specialist Christina Koch said, sometimes I just heard from the window team is the more I look at the moon and the browner and browner it looks, I thought that was an interesting observation. Victor Glover shared the gospel and teachings of Jesus Christ moments before losing signal with Earth. Now, if you're not paying attention, they were expected to lose that signal, going on the dark side of the moon. Glover shared that as he and the three other astronauts, Reed Wiseman, Christina Koch, and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen, got closer to the nearest point to the moon and farthest point from Earth, he wanted to remind people of one of the most important mysteries on Earth, love. He shared how Jesus Christ said that the greatest command was to love God with all you are, and added that the second greatest commandment is for people to love your neighbors as yourself. Matthew 22:36-40 shares that Jesus stated the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. Jesus also added that the second greatest commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. As we go on this journey, thinking about the NASA mission to explore the unknown in air and space, to innovate for the benefit of humanity, and to inspire the world through discovery, and as you've gone along on this journey with us, hopefully we're doing just those things, Glover stated. And as we get close to the nearest point to the moon and farthest point from Earth, as we continue to unlock the mysteries of the cosmos, I would like to remind you of one of the most important mysteries there on Earth, and that's love. Christ said in response to what was the greatest command that it was to love God with all you are. And he also, being a great teacher, said the second is equal to it, and that is to love your neighbor as yourself. Glover added that as the team was preparing to go out of radio communications, they were still feeling people's love from Earth. To all of you down there on Earth and around Earth, we love you from the moon. Isn't that nice? Now, oh, hey, look at that. Hey, now we got some waves coming in. We started off a little slow this morning. That's okay. Kind of a cold, rainy day. Oh, and someone forgot to press send. Good morning from Canisteo. Well, we say good morning to Canisteo from Frankly Speaking. I like the rocket emoji. We're kicking off the program with space. How about this, though? On a different side of the coin. So we talk about that amazing, as Trump said, pioneers, the astronauts. Alien experts, completely unrelated, claim powerful extraterrestrial life exists in the universe, which is beyond the control of any government, and, just to terrify you this morning, could wipe out life on Earth. Following Tennessee Representative Tim Burkett's revelation last week that Americans would be up at night worrying if they were privy to the things he has been briefed about in regards to UFOs, prominent researchers on the subject claim the government is keeping secrets for a reason. Dr. Don Dundiri, a retired McGill University professor, said extraterrestrials have the technology and power to overcome our technology and power. The informed public knows that the UFOs exist, that UFOs are advanced machines we don't know how to make, and that they're operated by intelligence that are superior technology. He claimed his lifelong research suggests alien technology is so advanced that it could annihilate the human race in a microsecond, and warned humanity has no defense. Quote, no human institution of any size or shape, from local council to the United Nations, has any kind of technical response that would prevent extraterrestrials from doing what they like on Earth or with us. We're potentially at their mercy. Wow. All right. I bet you didn't expect that. Yes, Frank, snow is on the hills in Greenwood. Yeah, I didn't expect that. It was rainy coming in this morning, but that truck has a lot of snow on it. So, yes, in the hills, I had a feeling there could be some snow after seeing this truck loaded down with snow. Yikes. All right, talking about aliens. This isn't a real segue. I don't know what to think about this. iTunes had a takeover by a fake AI singer named Eddie Dalton. Eddie Dalton, fake AI singer, now occupies 11 spots on singles charts and number 3 on album charts. Wow. He has AI, it's not a real person. Dallas Little is the creator, so technically Little has 11 spots on the iTunes Top 100. He also has the number 3 album on iTunes, all by a singer named Eddie Dalton, who does not exist. He's Little's artificial intelligence creation. Little is writing songs, recording them with AI. He's invented Eddie's look and sound and videos. So Eddie Dalton, a fake AI singer, is currently perched, as of this morning, at numbers 3, 8, 15, 22, 42, 44, 51, 58, 60, 68, and 79 on the iTunes Top 100. Sound like going back to that viewer comment. Sound like I was reading the lotto numbers. At least 3 more songs have been released since then, all of which are aiming to hit the top 100 in a day or so. I don't know what that says about society or where society is headed, but since we were talking about aliens, why not artificial intelligence as well? We've got a couple other things that we need to get to, updates, some things I just think are important to get your opinion on. We are going to talk a lot about Iran as the deadline nears 8 o'clock tonight. President Trump not letting off the gas in what he's been saying, maybe not as well. And we've got another example. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Another example of MAGA is now turning on Trump. Because of his statement being released on Easter, they said that MAGA members are turning on Trump yet again. We've got more calls for impeachment, people calling for the 25th Amendment, saying that he has dementia. These are people in the media. We're going to be talking about that here in just a little bit. We do have some New York State updates to get to as well. So stay with us. We're just getting warmed up. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Making pre-arrangements is one of the best gifts that you can give to your family. When you pre-arrange your funeral, you have taken away all questions and all doubts what your final wishes are. In a cost-free, no-obligation appointment, we can sit down with you and answer any questions that you have. And we will meet you at your home or at the funeral home. Your family doesn't have to tell your story. You can tell your story for yourself.
Visit carpentersphillipsflint.com.
If you want an experience that wakes you up, a place where you can scream to your heart's delight, go ahead. No one will hear you anyway. Here, you don't just watch. You feel. Come as you are and have a damn good time. That rumble you hear, that growl you feel, that's us.
The best chicken wings?
Ask Google. The best driving range? Ask Google.
The best Jeep dealer?
Ask Google. We did. Google reviews from customers rank Ferrario Jeep in Elmira the highest Jeep dealer in our area.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
Check out the new Jeeps during our Declaration of Deals event.
Visit Ferrario in Elmira or at Ferrario.com.
Good morning, everyone. As we take a look at the forecast ahead, we are tracking very cold conditions. In fact, supportive of maybe some snow showers through the day today. Some of that lake enhanced, very light snowfall at this point, but we will be clearing out. And we do actually have a warming trend ahead. That's the good news. As we take a look at our forecast ahead, while it's chilly today, noticing how we'll be flipping the script as we head into our Wednesday tomorrow, 52 and even the 60s ahead.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street Corning. A comment from a viewer. The fake news is full of excitement. MAGA is behind the president 100%. I agree. We're going to talk about it, though, in just a little bit. By the way, it was released yesterday who is going to replace Stephen Colbert and his late show. It's actually going to be, they're replacing Stephen Colbert with comedy. They're going a different direction. They're going to go with comedy, and it is going to be Byron Allen's show, Comics Unleashed. There you go. CBS will air Comics Unleashed with Byron Allen at 11:30 p.m. starting on May the 22nd, the day after The Late Show comes to its end. An hour later, Allen's comedy game show, Funny You Should Ask, will air each weekday night, according to The Hollywood Reporter. Comics Unleashed with Byron Allen was originally launched in 2006 and ran until 2016, in which various stand-up comics are given topics with which they have to create a stand-up routine. Anyway, I don't really care about the show, but I like that they're going a different direction with their normal programming. Stephen Colbert's Late Show, they're going a different direction with comedy. Speaking of that, oh, I saw, oh yeah, you're right. I see what you're saying. Yep, excrement, not excitement. The fake news is full of excrement. Sorry, I think they're full of excitement too. They're trying to push an agenda that MAGA, they've been doing this since really the inauguration, that MAGA is turning on Trump. So I think it works either way. We brought to you yesterday the Saturday Night Live joke, quote unquote joke, where they made, I think, a really inappropriate comment suggesting, well, I'll just read it to you. I think that's cool that the president is going to the theater. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Che said with a grin, referencing the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln, which sparked massive cheers from the liberal audience. Well, a White House spokesperson, Davis Engel, released a comment on this, saying Saturday Night Live hasn't been a good television show since President Trump hosted it. Fair enough. That seems fair. There's your statement. That was just an update from yesterday's program. Yes, alias manure. I get it now. I read it quick. Sorry. Boxer and influencer Jake Paul. I said we're going to go through some things here very quickly before we get into Iran and some New York State issues. Boxer and influencer Jake Paul, who recently attended that rally with President Trump, probably about a month ago, maybe now. He mourned the death of TPUSA co-founder Charlie Kirk in a new interview, saying that he believed that Charlie Kirk would have been elected president someday if he had lived. Becoming president someday for Kirk was like his job and his purpose and all of that, Paul told Theo Von, suggesting it would have made more sense than he, a boxer, aiming for the same position. Charlie Kirk was clearly going to be the next president. I don't know about next president, but a president, perhaps. Now, this comes off the heels of Trump kind of using humor, but saying that he would completely and totally endorse Jake Paul, should Paul choose to pursue political office. He did note that he has been flirting with politics, saying, I think it goes back to Marcus Aurelius, of like helping society, and like that's the number one thing you can do. He went on to argue that if there is a dumb running and opposing, I will enter the game and risk getting assassinated, but I don't want to. I could see you running, said the interviewer. I could see something like that. It does take something inside of people. I feel like they feel a sense of purpose and a calling to something. And if they can make sure that that's not just attached to their ego, and they can make sure that this is a sense of like, I can do something better and I'm willing to put myself out there to do that. Like Charlie would have been the guy. It's blanking sad, bro. He was awesome. Paul noted that he did not spend time with Kirk personally, but followed all of his social media, and his takeaway was he was like aiming for it, though. And I tie that in with Nick Shirley, who's an independent journalist and a YouTuber, who we had talked about him exposing the waste, fraud, and corruption in Minneapolis. He revealed that he now travels with security after receiving threats following his reporting that exposed alleged fraud in government programs. Imagine receiving death threats because you exposed waste, fraud, and corruption. Now, you could say, well, was it the criminals that were involved in that? That could very well be. You're seeing how evil the world is, Shirley said. I mean, they killed Charlie Kirk, not far from here. Who is he? A Christian man who is spreading the truth, and they killed him. I have to have security with me now because people have openly said they want to kill me too. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. Like not being able to go out or feel like you can go out and do stuff. It's not the funnest thing in the world. It's not the funnest thing, honestly, to have to like plan everything. Okay, I'm going to be here for this long, be there for that long. I feel like I've been doing what God wants me to do. I feel like I'm in line with that. I think the most important thing to think is to think with common sense. If things don't sound right or they don't feel right, then there's probably something that's not right about what's going on. You ask them, okay, taking a step back, Shirley pointed to political protests and immigration debates as examples, arguing that some individuals lack what he described as basic reasoning. You ask them like, oh, you're mad at them for deporting an illegal migrant? What's the word illegal mean? That breaks their whole entire logic. When you know you're at least seeking the truth, you shouldn't be afraid to voice your opinion. If I'm not going to do it, someone else will. And if I'm not going to do it, somebody needs to. So it might as well just be me. All right, there's a couple quick updates. We've got, I'm going through some things here quickly, aren't I? Okay. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about Iran. Tomorrow on the program, we're going to be talking with Sheriff Jim Allard from Steuben County, so don't miss that. Get your questions in for the sheriff. Then on Thursday, I believe it is, Don Berlew from Watkins Glen International. It's hard to believe, but opening weekend is right around the corner. It's actually the 11th. So we're talking this Saturday is opening day presented by Modal at the Glen. We'll learn all about that on Thursday's broadcast. Okay, a couple of other quick updates when we return. Then we'll get into Iran. Then we'll get into New York. Like I said, there is this full-out attack on the president, suggesting because of that tweet there's some level of dementia. It's very hard to listen to those people lecture you after they told you for 4 years that the president at the time, Joe Biden, was sharp as a tack, and that if you question his mental acuity, they would attack you personally. So it's very hard to hear all of a sudden a lot of expert doctors in the media and in Washington that you may not have realized before. So we'll talk about that. Also, as I said, they are suggesting that MAGA is now turning on the president. So are you. If you are a MAGA member, if you are supporting the president, or have you turned on him over Iran? Whatever happened to the donkey that posted the 8647? I don't. Nothing ever came from that. Why? Well, wow. How is his James Comey? Yeah, I couldn't think of it there for a moment. Let's see. I don't see anything new about James Comey. It's kind of someone I don't like to think about all that much. But no, I have not heard anything new on that. But thanks for asking. All right, let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Whether you're in the market for new, used, or certified pre-owned, Simmons Rockwell locations across the Twin Tiers have more of what you're looking for with our best price right on the windshield. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
When you're on, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
It's the home of creativity. Release your inner audio engineer. Create with the 3D printer. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to your local library today.
Did you know we waste as much as 40% of all the food we produce globally? Did you also know that each year, millions of acres of wildlife habitat are plowed over, and billions of gallons of water is guzzled up to produce that food? And your wallet is taking a hit too. Americans toss out more than $382 billion worth of food per year. That's a lot of waste. But did you know that there are simple things you can do to help? And spread the word that food should never be trash. Visit us at wwf.earth.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us. Steve writes in, good morning. Well, good morning, Steve. It's amazing how the legacy media and the Democrat Party depend on people not to have the mental acuity to actually do their own research and understand how they're being played. Hatred is the only tool that the Democrat Party actually has, along with the legacy media being hand in hand. I actually find it to be comedy relief on a daily basis, because at least you know people to avoid in life because they don't have the ability to understand how they are being used. Thank you very much, Steve. Listen to this. This isn't a story that I had heard about, but I'm glad that I can bring it to you. A San Diego high school has been forced to backpedal to offer mea culpa after they slapped a student with a suspension. Now, why did they suspend this student? Because the student posted pro-ICE flyers, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, pro-ICE flyers. Clearly, that decision to suspend that student was blasted as a blatant double standard. The 17-year-old Torrey Pines High Jr. had put up a handful of posters in late February reading, "We love ICE, real Americans," during lunch. The flyers were quickly torn down, but days later, the student was hit with a one-day suspension for what school officials allegedly called, quote, demonizing and hateful speech. Saying that you love law enforcement, what part of the heart is demonizing and or hateful? Well, needless to say, and this happens a lot in the education system, they're just hoping they can punish the student, send a clear message, and then move along. But in this case, there was too much backlash, and they were forced to reverse their decision. The student said, "I'm relieved and vindicated," after the school quietly wiped the suspension from his record following legal pressure. The controversy exploded because just weeks earlier, hundreds of students, you guessed it, had an anti-ICE walkout with signs featuring messages that included profanity, and I can't even read. Oh, wow. I can't read most of these, but one is ICE is KKK spelled differently. Yet none of those students, you guessed it, were disciplined. And that's why free speech advocates decided to get involved. So, again, the education system, they're in such a bubble that when someone questions their worldview and says something as simple as, "We love ICE," they're not used to being outside of that bubble, that echo chamber of far left voices. So they'd handle it very poorly. It's happened numerous times. We've had stories for you countless times on teachers overreacting, because again, when you grow up in academia, your whole life is academia, you're surrounded by yes people, the students, and you're not supposed to be questioned or challenged. So when a student, after a walkout, an anti-ICE walkout where the kids weren't punished, they probably cheered on by the teachers if you want to know the truth. But when a different student decides to post flyers saying "We love ICE," he gets a one-day suspension for, again, he or she, it doesn't say, for demonizing and hateful speech. Attorney Connor Fitzpatrick, representing the student through the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, argued the school crossed the constitutional line by punishing one viewpoint while letting the opposite slide. School administrators can't pick and choose which opinions students are allowed to express. That's not harassment, that's democracy. The district insists it didn't punish political views, pointing instead to policies against harassment and intimidation. Again, that's the bubble that they're in, that if it's a different worldview than theirs, then it's harassment and intimidation. Critics say the students' flyers were posted peacefully in a common area where political messages are routinely displayed and caused zero disruption. After FIRE demanded records related to the suspension, the district abruptly reversed itself, expunging the discipline entirely. Yeah, they didn't want to have anybody see their emails and their conversations on this, because then you'd get the true language of what they believe. Fitzpatrick said, "We're pleased the school has erased the suspension and will be watching closely to ensure the school respects its students' First Amendment rights. The law is clear. Public schools must allow students to peacefully express their political opinions." For the student, the stakes were high. He feared the suspension could hurt his college chances, and says the ordeal sent a chilling message. Nationwide, student-led anti-ICE walkouts have been on the rise. In 2026 alone, more than 300 walkouts and protests have taken place. And there's an effort in the works funded by the largest teachers union in the country to train activists in preparation for a string of anti-ICE protests planned to take place outside of public schools on May the 1st. So keep that in mind, May the 1st. The report claims that multiple groups have been running training programs in K-12 schools, pushing political messaging to students. According to Defending Education, the National Education Association, NEA, reportedly shelled out $1.7 million to support a May Day training toolkit that includes anti-ICE talking points. According to the Examiner, the organization behind the recent No Kings demonstrations are orchestrating these follow-up protests. The findings were fueling concern that classrooms are being turned into battlegrounds for political agendas, with taxpayer-linked institutions footing the bill. And that's exactly what it is. But that student, well, again, sheepishly, they reversed the decision, but the damage in many ways has been done. You'd like to see more of a punishment at that education institution. All right. Oh, by the way, how are we doing? We're doing good. Couple examples of hypocrisy when we get here. Ooh, a good piece by Jonathan Turley. Then we're going to get into Iran. The Associated Press, one of the world's oldest and most influential news organizations, said Monday it's offering buyouts to an unspecified number of its U.S.-based journalists as part of an acceleration away from the focus on newspapers and their print journalism that sustained the company since the mid-1800s. The News Media Guide, the union that represents AP journalists, said more than 120 of the staff members it represents received buyout offers on Monday. The news organization is becoming more focused on visual journalism and developing new revenue sources, particularly through companies investing in artificial intelligence to cope with the economic collapse of many legacy news outlets. Well, in many instances, you can say it's changing habits. But so many of these outlets, whether it's the AP, it's the legacy media, they've lost all credibility because of the reporting on Trump, his first term, then the lack of reporting on Biden and his term, and then now the magnifying glass on Trump. They've lost so much credibility that their numbers are dwindling. It's just like ratings at CNN. The only people watching CNN at this point are those trapped at an airport, which happens to be a long watch time. So they do actually get the minutes there because of the government shutdown still ongoing as Democrats just go on vacation. But Julie Pace, executive editor and senior vice president at AP, said, "We're not a newspaper company, and we haven't been for quite some time." Despite changes, the company has doubled the number of video journalists it employs in the U.S. since 2022. Remnants of a staffing structure built largely to provide stories to newspapers and broadcasters in individual states have remained. That has its roots well back in American history. We don't have to get through all that. But AP says it will offer buyouts, part of a pivot from newspaper-focused history. Talking about the government shutdown, we will when we return. We got just a couple examples of hypocrisy before we get into Iran. A couple of New York State issues. A couple of just quick things where there's no real way to segue. We'll get through all those. Wow, a lot of comments coming in. Keep them coming in. The big question this morning, according to so many various outlets, that, where is it? Where's the exact quote about Trump here? Top doctors sound alarm on Trump, who's 79, over dementia signs. Renee Smith writes, MAGA Christians turn on insane Trump and call for 25th Amendment after evil Easter message. We'll talk about that as well. But we've got to take a short break. I think we've got all of our ducks in a row here. Oh, the Painted Post Food Pantry. I did want to mention this. The nutritional workshop at the Painted Post Food Pantry that we try to highlight because it's such a fun event will be held tomorrow from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. The Painted Post Food Pantry, 201 at North Hamilton Street in Painted Post, is hosting a series of nutrition workshops at the pantry. Workshops will be held monthly. Each workshop is 1 hour, as I mentioned, 10:30 to 11:30. Register for door prizes, sip some beverages, and enjoy light refreshments during the presentation. Sample the recipe that Mary Ellen Bunch, the friendly nutritionist, will make. Take home a free kitchen tool as well. This will be 1 hour of fun for anyone who enjoys food and cooking. There you go. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
Hot tubs, hot tubs, hot tubs. With Easter coming, what better way to make every day better than with a Hesselsen's hot tub? During these uncertain, stressful times, what better way to relieve tension and relax those achy muscles? During Easter week, free chemicals and free steps, and the new and innovative energy-efficient smart tub and hydraulic lift systems are just half price. Plus, huge, unprecedented discounts on 2025 models as factory reps will be on hand. Hesselsen's Easter week hot tub sale is going on now through Saturday at 5 p.m. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of our lives. From a sense of community and safety, to physical and mental health, to economic security and independence. Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. The Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Hi, Frank. Thanks for giving my brain a kickstart each morning. Well, thank you. Questions for clarification. I continually hear different people referring to the Department of Defense and Secretary of Defense as the Department of War and Secretary of War, respectively. If memory serves me correctly from my high school American history class, I thought that after World War II, Congress replaced the word war with the word defense. It's very possible that I wasn't listening in class. Did I miss something, or are politicians and media doing this intentionally? Michael. Well, thank you, Michael. Thanks for writing in. Yes, that was kind of around the time that Trump renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. He changed the wording. It's now Secretary of War. Now, if you notice, many in the media won't adhere to it, but it is officially changed. It is now the Department of War and Secretary of War. But many in the media still refusing to call it that. They don't like that. But yeah, it was kind of a controversy at first. And it kind of just went by the wayside. And now most people are using that term. But again, the legacy media doesn't. But so yes, that was intentional. And it was officially changed. I mean, it cost the kind of money it takes to change letterhead and change official documents. So it is official. So thank you for the question. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. We all know that the left loves their polls, especially the ones about Trump losing support. They'll believe whatever they want so that they can ignore the fact that there are 1,018 days left in Trump's term ending on December 20th, 2029. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Thank you. I love that. I love the ending there. Wouldn't he actually be done on January 20th? Isn't that when so maybe there's a couple extra days on there. You got an extra month on there. The final day would be January 20th. Isn't that inauguration date? Right? Or is it? Yeah. I think it's January 20th. Okay. Comment from a different viewer. Trump evil? If that isn't the pot calling the kettle black, thank you very much. And finally, Ken writes in my elevated age, I may be getting forgetful. Possibly the most knowledgeable political commentator in history can help me out. Well, I hope that person comes on and listens. I remember things that the Democrats have said or done regarding their political opponents, i.e., I hope his heart pops out of his chest. I have thought a lot about blowing up the White House, walking on stage with a bloody head of Trump, 8647. It's cool that the president is going to the theater. What's the worst that could happen? There are many more I can't think of, but you only have that I can think of, but you only have a 2-hour show. My fear is that my memory is failing. I can't remember the hateful things that have been said by Republicans about their political opponents. Possibly you can help me out. No, that's not the direction they go. You're exactly right. Oh my goodness, could you imagine if there was even a veiled threat by a Republican towards a Democrat? It would be the end of their career. They would say it was vile. But in this case, some of the examples that you don't even mention, remember when they were going after, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders is the one, it's actually happened to her recently too, where they said that people within the Trump administration cannot feel safe to go out into public. So you're exactly right, Ken. 2 hours would not be enough to fill. We could fill the whole show with the hate that has been spewed at Trump and Trump supporters and people around Trump. So great point. All right, quickly, for all our Yankees fans out there, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez enjoyed her paid vacation, yes, as the government is shut down, paid vacation, in a suite at the Yankees game Sunday as tens of thousands of federal workers marked 6 weeks without a paycheck because of the Democrat-led government shutdown. The firebrand squad member was all smiles as she posed for selfies with admirers who gushed about their encounters on social media. Okay. Breaking. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was just spotted looking gorgeous at the Yankees game tonight, wrote another devotee. She was not sitting down in the bleachers with her constituents, said one source. Given her warm reception, it's unlikely either of the selfie takers are among the 35,000 federal workers who haven't received a paycheck in 48 days as the longest partial government shutdown in history drags on. Like the rest of her congressional colleagues, AOC is on her second week of paid vacation, still drawing a paycheck on her $174,000 a year salary as thousands of Department of Homeland Security staffers, including FEMA workers, U.S. Coast Guard members, and cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency employees are going without pay. AOC in the House didn't translate to a victory for the Bombers, who blew a 3-run lead in a 7-6 defeat. Other members of Congress have been spotted during their 2-week break enjoying Las Vegas and hitting up No Kings protests. To those that have mentioned Lindsey Graham going to Disneyland, right, and ignoring all the other politicians on their trips. What about this? AOC enjoying a Yankees game in a fancy suite, one that you and I could not afford, I can say pretty confidently, while her constituents are in the bleachers and while those federal employees mark 6 weeks without a paycheck. And since we're talking about hypocrisy, why not here? The Obama Presidential Center. Now, there's been a lot of criticism of his library because this isn't even a political statement. It's very kind of doom and gloom looking. Some have compared it to like the Death Star in Star Wars. I don't know because I've never seen Star Wars, but the Obama Presidential Center is facing a wave of backlash ahead of its opening, with critics blasting its admission policy and raising broader concerns about the project's cost and management. Listen to this. Conservative commentators on social media are taking aim at the center's requirement that Illinois residents show valid identification to receive free admission on certain days, arguing it contrasts with the Democratic opposition to voter ID laws. Quote, they're making you show ID to visit the Obama Library in Chicago. You can't make this up. The Obama Presidential Library is making people show an ID for proof of Illinois residency to get in for free. So residents have to prove who they are for this, but not to vote? Others echoed the sentiment more bluntly, with one account writing, it turns out Democrats support requiring ID, but only for free admission into Obama's library. Obama's website clearly states that Illinois residents must be able to provide proof of residency, be prepared to show proof of residency at the museum with a valid photo ID, Illinois driver's license, state ID, or city-issued ID. Critics have also pointed to reported restrictions tied to early ticket giveaways, including claims that some promotions are limited to U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents. And we also learn that the project has cost about $850 million for the library. Wow. Earlier this year, the Obama Foundation drew backlash after seeking 75 to 100 unpaid volunteers dubbed ambassadors to help operate the center, even as top executives collect substantial salaries. Federal filings show CEO Valerie Jarrett has earned roughly $740,000 annually in recent years, while overall compensation at the foundation has climbed significantly. The project has also faced mounting scrutiny over its financial impact on taxpayers. Former President Obama once described the center as a gift to Chicago, emphasizing it would be privately funded, while construction of the 19.3-acre campus is being financed through private donations. The surrounding infrastructure needed to support the site, including road designs, utility relocation, and drainage systems, is being paid for with public funds. Early estimates put those infrastructure costs at roughly $350 million, split between the city and state. But more recent figures show Illinois alone has committed approximately $229 million, while Chicago has allocated more than $200 million in related improvements, though officials have not provided a clear, consolidated total of taxpayers' spending tied to the project. Enough on that. So there you go. All right. Let's take a short break. When we return, man, this show is moving fast. I had to add those two waves. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
With Steel Battery. Save up to $50 on select AK battery tools. Shop in-store or online.
You can just keep watching and scrolling, and the world will still feel like it's falling apart.
Widespread missile attacks. Highest hospitalization. Evacuation in the West. Forced labor.
Or you can take action by joining a movement that's creating real and lasting change instead. Partnering with communities around the globe to help uproot poverty and plant seeds of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Because at World Vision, we believe that no situation is hopeless. Join a movement that's changing the world for good.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. The Obama Library, if I was going on vacation, would not even be in the top 1 trillion destinations. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Mark writes in, wow, $174,000 salary Congress makes. Yep, and they make too much. And they do nothing. They don't get along and can't agree on anything. I'll be like Trump. Congress, you're fired. Thank you very much. Yeah, $174,000. I think there's other perks along with that. Some kind of... So if you're in certain committees, you get paid more, and there's certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Not per diem, but certain costs that you don't have to eat that they're paid for. All right, comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Enjoy the show. Have an enjoyable day. Well, thank you very much. I hope you have an enjoyable day as well. We got some nice comments coming in this morning. Comment from a different viewer. As a Christian, I'm always entertained by what the left thinks that I should be offended by. Yes, as they are offended, and they want you to be offended, that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, has the audacity to pray for our soldiers to Jesus, to pray to Jesus for our soldiers. And they were, Margaret Brennan and others were outright offended. And they wanted you to be offended too. And I can't remember who said it, but just the fact that they want you to be offended shows you how out of touch they are, and how in the echo chamber they are in Washington. Sorry, my microphone's breaking there. Comment from a different viewer. Big thanks to Assemblyman Phil Palmisano for trying to help us out at Brown's Cigar Store. Yes, that's if you haven't joined us for a while and you haven't heard the story, it's heartbreaking. But after 136 years in business, Brown's Cigar Store, the state is essentially shutting them down because they did not check an ID. They admitted their mistake, completely admitted their mistake, and now the state looking for any opportunity to go after tobacco products. Never mind how much taxes Brown's Cigar Store has paid in 136 years, never missing a tax payment. But they are willing to cut off that tax base all to punish tobacco. So there you are, 136 years, and tomorrow, so if you are a cigar smoker, you just want to say goodbye to everybody and say hi, tomorrow looks to be the last day according to a letter that they received. So 136 years, folks, of that. Think of how many, wouldn't you like to know how much taxes were paid to the state in those 136 years? Now, of course, at the very beginning, the taxes weren't as high as they are now, but something like 75% tax on tobacco currently. So again, I guess the state, in their infinite wisdom, believes that sending, I guess, a signal, a punishment to a tobacco retailer is more important than that revenue coming in. But yes, it is heartbreaking, and it is the heartbeat of Corning, of Market Street, of the Gaffer District. Anybody who's a member of a charitable organization in the surrounding area knows that the first group you go to is Brown Cigar Store to see if they would sell your tickets for you, so you had a easy, centralized location so people could go and purchase them and not have to look for members of your group. They've done so much for our community for so long, and that's Governor Hochul and the state. I know, we talked about it last week, and people were outraged. And you can only imagine, 136 years, folks. Well, make sure you go say goodbye, get some last-second cigars, or just, like I said, say hi and look at an institution being attacked by the state. We've got a couple other things before we get to Iran. I know we haven't even talked about Iran yet. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We'll be right back.
Discover how the right mattress can transform your day. At Raymore and Flanigan, we carry brands built for real rest, including the luxurious new King Coil mattresses by Drew and Jonathan Home, and the unparalleled value of our new line Sleep by Raymore and Flanigan. Ready to feel the difference? Visit a sleep center to take a free comfort test. From plush to firm and everything in between, we'll help you find your perfect match. Sleep better, feel better, live better. At Raymore and Flanigan.
There have always been a few, ready to fight and win. Since 1775, these few have been Marines, and they come from across this land to defend the future of our nation. This year, our Corps celebrates 250 years, and Marines are proud to serve this country, each other, and all that is still to come for America.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning, wrapping up hour number one. We have a couple of... I don't think we're going to have a chance to get to this before we talk about Iran, but but I do have a couple of things we need to get to. So we'll kick off the next hour with some major issues. But there is a piece by Jonathan Turley who says, reclaiming your own birthright, we might need to amend the Constitution. Saying it's time to reclaim both the Constitution and our common identity. As a free people joined by a common faith and natural rights, it's our own birthright. You can find that for yourself at The Hill. Yesterday, right? Was it yesterday? The war with Iran is raging, gas prices are rising, and spending battles endure on Capitol Hill. So why is the number 2 man in the White House flying to Budapest? Vice President J.D. Vance's visit to Hungary this week, days ahead of the country's national elections, is officially intended to deepen ties with a nation of 10 million. Inside Hungary, however, the visit is viewed mainly as an attempt to boost longtime Prime Minister Viktor Orban, whose grip on power is facing its biggest test in years. Endorsed by President Trump and hailed as a model for the rest of Europe by U.S. administration officials, the nationalist pro-Russia Orban and his party are trailing in polls behind the opposition ahead of Sunday's contest. It's unusual, says CNN, for a high-profile American official to visit a country so close to an important election. It's seen as a signal of the lengths the U.S. administration is willing to go to help an embattled global ally. What? I thought we were nasty to our allies. I'm confused. I can't figure it all out. We do actually have a couple things about NATO here and the call for the end of NATO. We're going to tell you a little bit about what we can maybe expect tonight as the deadline looms in Iran, 8 o'clock tonight. We could talk about that in the next hour as well. I'm just killing a little time because we don't really have enough time to get to a whole nother topic before the end of the break. So let's go through a couple of quick things. On Wednesday's program, we are going to be talking with Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard, so make sure you get your questions in for the sheriff. Then on Thursday, we're going to hear from Don Berlew from Watkins Glen International. We're going to find out all about opening weekend, which is this Saturday, kicks off the racing festivities. We know that the NASCAR race was moved to a little bit earlier, we'll say, than normal, May 10th. Mother's Day weekend, the Go Bowling at the Glen. So we're going to talk about that and what you need to know with the difference and the change in this year's schedule. And then on Friday, we're going to talk with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, who we just mentioned earlier, and all the hard work he's been doing. So Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be joining us on Friday. There we go. All right. We need to take a short break. And then we're going to kick off hour number 2. Hard to believe how fast we're moving along here. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in. If for some reason you are new to the program, you see that number on the bottom of your screen. You can reach out at any time. We try to do our best to read your comments or your questions or your concerns, and we try to add to our wave list. So if you want to send a wave, we'll add it to the list. All right, stay with us. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 moments away. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Some people who need Social Security disability benefits go to their hearing alone and get turned down. Not every lawyer will appeal a denial after your hearing. I will. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. I help people win benefits by appealing their denials, including in federal court. But your time to appeal is limited, so call my office now.
Lockman & Gordon, 1-800-698-0567. Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. Commit to Nappy's, family owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
Hot tubs, hot tubs. With Easter coming, what better way to make every day better than with a Hesselsen's hot tub? During these uncertain, stressful times, what better way to relieve tension and relax those achy muscles? During Easter week, free chemicals and free steps, and the new and innovative energy-efficient smart top and hydraulic lift systems are just half price. Plus, huge, unprecedented discounts on 2025 models as factory reps will be on hand. Hesselsen's Easter week hot tub sale is going on now through Saturday at 5 p.m. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners.
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. A couple of quick things to get to before we start talking about Iran that I just thought you would find interesting. Remember former TV host Billy Bush? He alleged that ABC News had an entire, quote, division dedicated to, quote, get Trump during the 2016 election. Quote, ABC News had a division. They had a division dedicated with 75 people in it because I knew the guy who ran the division, which was dedicated to basically getting him. So Bush, who was swept up in the infamous Access Hollywood tape that nearly derailed Trump's first presidential campaign, recalled the last meeting he had with then NBC News chairman Andy Lack before Bush was ousted, saying, I said, Andy, I understand what you want to do with this Access Hollywood footage and what you want to weaponize this because there's a debate on Sunday night, the second debate with Hillary and Donald. And sure enough, it was the first question to come out of Anderson Cooper's mouth. He was the moderator. This was it. There has always been an it to get Trump, but this was definitely it at the time. But I said, look, it's wrong. I understand what you've got something here that you think is relevant, but it's wrong. I mean, I chit-chat with Sean Hannity, 15 minutes before the sit-down for an interview. The camera happens to be rolling. Whatever we talk about is not usable. That can't be weaponized, but this was a special circumstance because of who was running and how they felt about him. So they had a 75-person division dedicated to get Trump. Wow. Speaking of that, Democrats plot, you guessed it, impeachment of Trump a third time. Free Speech for People said in a that's I guess the name of the group. Free Speech for People said in a press release Monday that a national poll found a majority of likely 2026 voters nationwide support impeaching President Donald Trump, which the group called an extraordinary and unprecedented level of support so early in a presidential term. So to that viewer who said that how Democrats love to use these polls. So according to this poll, a majority of likely 2026 voters nationwide support impeaching President Donald Trump. The poll conducted by Lake Research Partners from March 26th to the 30th among 800 likely 2026 general election voters found that 52% support impeaching Trump, while 40% oppose it. 46% said they strongly support impeachment compared to 37% who strongly oppose it, while 8% said they were unsure or had no opinion. Now, I do want to highlight 800 people is kind of a joke for a poll, but obviously they have an agenda to push, and guess who will run with this poll? The media. Well, I guess I'm doing it kind of myself, but we're showing the humor to that one viewer's comment before, the humor of how easily predictable these people are, how easy it is to laugh at them. According to the survey, 38% said the approval of the job Trump is doing as president, while 57% said they disapprove, 53% said they strongly disapprove. The margin of error was plus or minus 3.5 percentage points. The demographic breakdown of the sample showed 53. I don't want to go through each of that. But again, Free Speech for People joined Citizens Impeachment, the Removal Coalition, Women's March, and the 50501 movement in launching an expanded, quote, Free America Walkout campaign to pressure Congress to impeach Trump and senior administrating officials. The coalition urged supporters to visit congressional district offices on January 20th. Remember that? I don't want to go through the history of this group. But this, yep, the new poll. Yeah, everybody wants to impeach Trump. MAGA's turning on him. Anyway. An American E-4B doomsday plane takes to the skies as Trump weighs an all-out strike on Iran. One of America's doomsday planes was spotted circling above a key Nebraska Air Force base on Monday, just hours before President Trump's deadline for Iran to accept his peace deal is set to expire. The Boeing E-4B Night Watch, which was designed to protect national security officials and keep the government operating in a time of nuclear war, was spotted by flight trackers above the Air Force Base, home of the headquarters of the U.S. Strategic Command. The jet had taken off from the Air Force Base at 10:17 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, circling around the area at least 6 times before landing back at the base. The aircraft's movements are regularly monitored by flight trackers during high-tension moments, with a flight last year garnering attention just days before the U.S. joined Israel in the 12-day war campaign to bomb Iran's nuclear facilities. Trump has now set a deadline for Tuesday for Iran to agree to his peace plan and open the Strait of Hormuz, or the U.S. would destroy the Islamic Republic's power plants and bridges. Quote, the entire country can be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night, Trump told reporters yesterday. CNN. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, we got some comments coming in. Well, we'll get to them after the next break. How's that? Just because it's tough to read them live on the air. CNN says what to know about Trump's threat to bomb Iran's power plants and bridges and why this could be a war crime, by Jesse Young. The president set the deadline in a Truth Social post on Sunday after issuing a profane message, renewing threats to bomb key Iranian infrastructure if Tehran does not open the strait. Speaking again on Monday, Trump said the U.S. has a plan under which every bridge and power plant in Iran could be destroyed by midnight Tuesday. Quote, I mean complete demolition by 12 o'clock, Trump said. He has previously threatened to hit other Iranian infrastructure, including oil wells and water plants. Tehran has responded publicly with defiance so far, with one military commander calling Trump's threats baseless and delusional. Quote, if attacks on non-civilian targets are repeated, our military response will be carried out far more forcefully on a much wider scale. And on Monday, a spokesperson for Iran's foreign ministry urged Americans to hold their government responsible for what he described as an unfair, aggressive war against Iran. Targeting critical civilian infrastructure could be considered a war crime. Objects indispensable to a population's survival, including water treatment plants, are prohibited as military targets under the Geneva Convention. Infrastructure might be considered a valid target if it has a dual use for Iran's military. But Trump has threatened to not just blow up some of Iran's power plants, he's threatened to blow them all up. There's a lot of former military lawyers and legal scholars who've been very hesitant to say any bombing of civilian infrastructure is a war crime because there are instances where you can do it. But the president's rhetoric this weekend, for me and I think for many others, changed our opinion on that, said Margaret Donovan, a former lawyer in the U.S. Army's JAG Corps. We're seeing basically a direct threat to something that we know is going to be catastrophic to civilians. Okay. And I think that's probably enough from CNN. What do you think? Trump called. We're not going to go any more CNN. So Trump is unconcerned about the legality of Iran bridge power strikes. Trump was asked by a New York Times reporter if he's worried about claims that targeting bridges and power plants would violate the Geneva Convention of 1949. He said, no, not at all. Nope, I'm not. I hope I don't have to, Trump said, as he uses the threat in an effort to force a deal with Tehran, ending the 38-day conflict. Trump said at the briefing that if Iran doesn't make a deal by a deadline of 8 p.m. today, its critical infrastructure will be obliterated. Quote, this is a critical period. They have a period of, till tomorrow at 8 o'clock. After that, they're going to have no bridges. They're going to have no power plants, stone ages. Yeah. We have a plan because of the power of our military where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. It will happen over a period of 4 hours. Trump claimed he had popular support within Iran for such devastating actions, saying, quote, "I can only say this. They want us to keep bombing because their life is in much greater danger. They want freedom for Iran, but it's very hard for them to protest. Allowing a sick country with demented leadership to have a nuclear weapon, that's a war crime." Trump told reporters during the annual Easter egg roll that they just don't want to say uncle. They don't want to cry, as the expression goes, uncle. But they will. And if they don't, then they will have no bridges, no power plants. They'll have nothing. All right. The University of California, Berkeley law professor John Yoo said people who think all power plants and bridges in Iran are off limits from military attack are just defending Iran regardless of what the laws of war actually provide. The United States has struck bridges and power plants before during wartime. The question is whether the bridges are being used by the Iranians to conduct military operations, such as transporting not just military units, but also munitions, etc., used by the military. Same with power plants. If they're supplying electricity to the Iranian military or its command and control, they are legitimate targets. We struck the Serbian power grid during the Kosovo War. And he goes through and mentions the exact legal precedent for this. But he did say any strike must respect the principles of proportionality and precautions in attacks. The proportionality principle prohibits attacks expected to cause incidental civilian harm that would be excessive in relation to the military advantage. The civilian harm to be considered includes foreseeable, reverberating, or indirect harm. In any attack, all feasible precautions must be taken to avoid civilian harm. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We got comments coming in. We got waves coming in. We got a lot to cover with Iran. So stay right there, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Crispy hot hash browns, sweet savory McGriddles, refreshingly cool iced coffee. Oh, don't mind me, just doing my morning affirmations. Crispy hot hash browns, sweet savory McGriddles.
Mix and match a sausage McMuffin with egg, egg McMuffin, or sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddles. Get any two for just $5 and pair it with $1.99 any size iced coffee.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
You deserve primary care that connects. Care that helps you move forward. Care that connects you to world-class specialists. Care that connects you to providers who are part of your community. And care that connects you to the life you love. Because great healthcare comes from providers who care about connection just like you. Find your primary care appointment at centralishealth.org/schedule.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Become a wish maker today and be part of a journey that truly changes lives.
The Frankly Speaking roof cam. Brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Got a couple comments in here. One I have not had an opportunity to read yet, so I'm not avoiding that one. Just let me, because I saw a little side note comment there. I will get to that in the next segment. But Ken writes in, I just saw the report online that shows that the Iranian government thinks about their kids. The Iranian regime called Tuesday on young people to form human chains around the country's power plants, which President Trump has threatened to destroy if no deal is reached to reopen the Strait of Hormuz by his deadline this evening. Trump may do a bait and switch and go for the oil instead of power plants. He doesn't like to forecast military objectives. That's a great point, Ken. I'm glad you mentioned that. It is being reported on that Iran called on its youth on Tuesday to form human chains around its power plants after President Trump threatened to decimate the Islamic Republic's energy infrastructure if it fails to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Well, this is like we talked about last week, where what was the draft? I guess not draft. You could, I don't think it was volunteer, but you could sign up for the military in Iran at, what was the age? They lowered it to 12. And now they're calling on kids to form human chains so that if we do bomb a power plant, that they can use it as propaganda that we were killing children. They don't care about their own people. They've shown it time and time again. Quote, power plants that are our national assets and capital, regardless of any taste or political viewpoint, belong to the future of Iran and to the Iranian youth, said the Secretary of Supreme Council of Youth and Adolescence. Government officials have called on students, artists, and athletes to form the human shield from 2 p.m. local time. We hope that with this participation of young people across the country, this human chain will be formed around the power plants and will be a sign of the youth's commitment to protecting the country's infrastructure and building a bright future. Do you think these kids have any choice? Do you think this is volunteer? No. The bloodthirsty regime is already accused of recruiting children as young as 12 in a drive dubbed Homeland Defending Combatants for Iran. Amnesty International said it has confirmed photos showing child-wielding weapons such as AK pattern assault rifles and standing alongside Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps military personnel at checkpoints and during rallies. The desperate calls come after Trump promised to obliterate Tehran's energy infrastructure if a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz isn't reached by 8 p.m. We have a plan, you know all that. So yes, that is, to Ken's point, that is what they think of their children, of their kids. This is who we are dealing with Iran. Now, keep in mind, you don't see Hollywood celebrities, you don't see the college kids, you don't even see the local activists protesting in support of the Iranian people. Mysteriously quiet. They sure had no problem pushing kind of an anti-Semitic message in the past when we talk about Palestine. But now in this case, there seems to be crickets when it comes to support and being the voice, being the platform for the people of Iran. Because the people of Iran, I mean, I just learned today that the internet blackout in Iran is the longest national shutdown since the Arab Spring. It began shortly after the first U.S.-Israel strike in late February. It is now the longest national-scale blackout since the Arab Spring. Iranian authorities cut off all access to the internet on February 28th, the day the war began, after an earlier shutdown in January during the nationwide protests. This current blackout has lasted more than 38 days. Its severity means many in Iran, beyond their own experiences, are receiving limited information about the war compared with others in the region. Quote, when I speak with people inside Iran, they often are not aware of the full scale of the destruction and other developments. And this also makes it so that they can't mobilize. You know, you're kind of living in your neighborhood. You don't know where the bombs are going off. You don't know who has died. You don't know how successful the United States has been thus far. So you're kind of living in your own world. And you can't mobilize and say, here is our chance, reaching out to others to take over and topple the regime. So it actually, I know some of you would say, I kind of don't want the internet for a while. This is a little bit different. This is vital to see a movement grow. And that's why the Iranian regime is making sure that the blackout continues. President Trump said yesterday that Iranian regime are, we'll say, baloney artists, which sounds kind of weird, and have been baloneying That's not what he really said, but I think you get the idea. Other American presidents for nearly 5 decades. A CNN reporter asked, are you willing to make a deal that does not include reopening the Strait of Hormuz, or is that now a top priority? So Trump, after calling CNN fake news, said, I would say it's a very big priority because that's the one thing that's a little different. We can bomb the heck out of them. We can knock them out. But to close the strait, all you need is one terrorist that somehow has a truck loaded with a water mine, drop that in the water, and now you tell people that own ships that cost $1 billion, don't worry about the mine. You could do that even just by saying we put mines in the water. So it's not like the rest. He touted that the United States has knocked out Iran's Navy, Air Force, and mine droppers, but noted the regime could use other boats to lay mines. Though he questioned if Iran has any mines left to put in the strait, adding that those in the regime are very good baloney artists. They don't have any mine droppers anymore, but they put them on the other boats, and they could drop them. I'm not even sure they have any mines, by the way. I'm not sure. They say there might be 8. I don't know. I think they might be none because they're very good baloney artists. That's why for 47 years they've been baloneying other presidents, and they haven't done the job. And people are living in heck. You live in that country, they're living in heck. No, I think that 47 years of this stuff is long enough. They're at the weakest point they've ever been. They have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft weaponry, they have no radar, they have no communications. In fact, the biggest problem we have in our negotiation is that they can't communicate. We're communicating like they used to communicate 2,000 years ago, with children bringing a note back and forth. But all I want to see is I want to have a safe world. GOP I got to take a break. GOP Representative Pat Fallon said he thinks there will be American special operators on the ground in Iran, and I don't think this is going to end like Venezuela, where we just have a new leader that wants to be at least cooperative with the U.S. All right, your thoughts on that? We got a couple other things we got to get to, but we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Whoa. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
It's the home of creativity. Release your inner audio engineer. Create with the 3D printer. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to your local library today.
Are you my rideshare?
No, I'm William Mattar. Just reminding people, if you're injured in a rideshare crash, to give me a call.
Thanks.
Hey, what about me?
Yep, drivers too. Injured in a rideshare crash that wasn't your fault? Give me a call.
Got it. Rideshare crash? Call William Mattar.
Right. Now on to the next rideshare. Rideshare crash? Only call William Mattar.
Every job has a moment where it could slow down, or it could keep moving. At D&L Supply and Rental, we focus on what actually matters, keeping your momentum. From emergency rentals to weekend projects, we make it easy, we make it fast, we make it right. Less downtime, because our team knows the job, has what you need, and gets it to you even on Saturdays. D&L, built for momentum.
Hot tubs, hot tubs, hot tubs. With Easter coming, what better way to make every day better than with a Hesselsen's hot tub? During these uncertain, stressful times, what better way to relieve tension and relax those achy muscles? During Easter week, free chemicals and free steps, and the new and innovative energy-efficient smart top and hydraulic lift systems are just half price. Plus, huge, unprecedented discounts on 2025 models as factory reps will be on hand. Hesselsen's Easter week hot tub sale is going on now through Saturday at 5 p.m. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselsen studio. Got some waves and some comments coming in. So, okay. Sorry again. I ran to get my tea and I didn't have a chance to read all these comments. We'll read them in the next section. I'm not putting it off. I see something here about UFOs, which I'd like to read, but I haven't had a chance yet. So, all right. Representative Ro Khanna from California said that there should be a ceasefire in Iran and, quote, we need to make sure that we give Iran an ironclad guarantee that Israel or we will not attack again and involve China and Russia in that and give Iran a guarantee that they're going to be safe. And also look at sanctions and have negotiations over ensuring Iran doesn't get a nuclear weapon. How utopian is this? What? Pollyanna maybe is a better word. Khanna said we need to end the war, and we could do it with three things. We need an immediate ceasefire, stop the bombing. We need to make sure and we give Iran an ironclad guarantee that Israel or we will not attack again and involve China and Russia in that. And then we need to look at some of these sanctions and have a diplomatic solution. So Anderson Cooper said, well, where does the Strait of Hormuz fall into that? He said, well, that's the one way, in my view, that we get the Strait of Hormuz open. If we don't give Iran a guarantee that they're not going to be safe, they're going to think, well, Israel is saying they want to mow the lawn. What? I had enough on that. My goodness. Doesn't it make you think sometimes when you see some of these political commentators, thank heavens they're not the leader of the free world. Thank heavens they're not in charge of our foreign policy. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned the Trump administration that attacking civilian infrastructure in Iran is prohibited under international law. Quote, even if specific civilian infrastructures were to qualify as a military objective. He said an attack on these civilian targets would be banned if it risks excessive incidental civilian harm. Now, Trump spoke yesterday about the mission to save the U.S. airmen in Iran. He met with, who else was there? CIA Director John Ratcliffe. Trump said, speaking at the White House at the news conference following the successful rescue, Trump described the mission as one of the most daring search and rescue operations in U.S. history, emphasizing that the operation's success involved a lot of subterfuge, as U.S. forces deliberately misled Iranian units searching for the wounded airmen across mountainous terrain. Trump said the deception effort included coordinated activity across multiple locations to confuse Iranian forces, explaining we had 7 different locations where they thought he was, and they were very confused, adding that planners intentionally created the impression the airman was elsewhere while the real recovery operation was underway. He also pointed to the scale of the operation, describing a large coordinated force involving scores of aircraft and special operations personnel operating across multiple axes to execute both the deception efforts and the recovery mission. Now, he said that the administration would seek to identify the person who leaked that a second U.S. airman remained missing in Iran during the rescue mission and would tell the media outlet that published the information to reveal the source on national security grounds. Yeah, this is the kind of leaks that we don't want to see. Speaking yesterday at a White House press conference, Trump said officials had deliberately withheld information about the second airman after the first crew member was recovered, but that a leak revealed another American remained alive in Iran. Trump later called the leaker a sick person. As you probably know, we didn't talk about the first one for an hour. Then somebody leaked something, which we will hopefully find that leaker. They basically said that we have one and there's somebody missing. Well, they didn't know there was somebody missing until this leaker gave that information. We're looking very hard to find the leaker. We're going to go to the media company that released it, and we're going to say national security, give it up or go to jail. When they did that, all of a sudden, the entire country of Iran knew that there was a pilot that was somewhere on their land that was fighting for his life. It also made it much more difficult for the pilots and for the people going in to search for him. All of a sudden, they know that there's somebody out there, that they see all these planes coming in. It became a much more difficult operation because a leaker leaked that we have one, we've rescued one, but there's another one out there that we're trying to get. So in addition to a hostile, very talented, very good, very evil military, we had millions of people trying to get an award. So he's telling the media outlet, give it up or go to jail. Now, Iran is pushing the propaganda that Sunday's daring American rescue of a downed pilot might have been a deception operation for a failed attempt to steal Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium. Quote, the area where the American pilot was claimed to be present is a long way from the area where they attempted to land or wanted to land their forces in central Iran. The possibility that this was a deception operation to steal enriched uranium could not be ignored at all. The Iranian spokesperson said there was many questions and uncertainties about the operation, which he described as a disaster for the U.S. military. Now, remember the name Joe Kent? The ex-National Counterterrorism Center boss, Joe Kent, and conspiracy theorist. He has been called out for promoting wild Iranian propaganda that suggests the U.S. was actually trying to kill a downed American airman just hours before he was dramatically rescued. Kent, who abruptly resigned from the Trump administration position last month in protest over Iran, got into a war of words with CNN's Jake Tapper on Monday after the former counterterror honcho was called out for peddling the false claim. He had shared an article from Iranian state media over the weekend that claimed the U.S. was actively bombing the same area where the missing airman was believed to be. The pro-regime outlet was reporting that the Trump administration had lost hope of finding the American soldier and was now trying to kill him before he could be captured by Iranian forces. Kent shared the post before President Trump revealed hours later that the crewman had finally been rescued in a daring operation behind enemy lines. Tapper, for his part, was quick to ridicule Kent and his nonsense post, arguing his theory hadn't aged well. Former National Counterterrorism Center Director Joe Kent sharing Iranian state-linked outlet nonsense, claiming falsely that the U.S. was trying to kill the then-lost U.S. pilot. Maybe you don't share Iranian propaganda? Aged rather poorly, I think it's fair to say. A defense of Kent quickly fired back, accusing Tapper and other media outlets of trying to promote this foolish war and attack anyone who points out this war isn't in our nation's interest. Read independent media, Iranian media, and U.S. media. Always question those cheering on wars and always pray for our troops, he added. So after pushing a conspiracy and propaganda by Iran, it is then the media's fault? I'm confused by that. Now, when we come back, we're going to tell you a little bit about what's being said about Trump. As MAGA is allegedly turning on him, we do have one other quick thing. There's an opinion piece that says it's the end of NATO and other spring tidings, writes Roger Kimball. Easter's promise of renewal meets a world of failing alliances and media illusions. But beneath the noise, strength, clarity, and spring, quiet certainties endure. So we'll see where if NATO, I mean, Trump signaled that he wants to end NATO. And an economist, editor-in-chief Zanny Mitten-Beddoes said yesterday that European leaders are coming to terms with the possibility of a true divorce among NATO. President Donald Trump said he is strongly considering pulling out of NATO over the alliance's refusal to join his administration's efforts in the Iran conflict. The president, long a critic of NATO, which has been pivotal in maintaining global order since World War II, said reconsidering the matter was beyond consideration. Beddoes, speaking on an episode on CNN, said they're furious about being called cowards and other insults by the President of the United States when, remember, the only time NATO's Article 5 has been invoked was after 9/11, and thousands of Europeans and NATO forces served with distinction in Afghanistan. This, she noted, is in addition to European leaders' concerns about their own energy needs as they heavily rely on fossil fuel from the Gulf. They see the impact on their economy, and on top of that, now they have the President of the United States and the Secretary of State basically saying, NATO is finished. I think there's a growing realization in Europe, even among those European countries, that have always seen the glass half full and have always hoped that they can maintain some kind of special relationship with the U.S., that this time something really might be different. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. A couple other things on Iran. We got some New York State issues. We will be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
An accident can turn your life upside down in an instant. Pain, medical bills, time off work, it's overwhelming. And when you look to the insurance company for help, they don't see you. They don't see your family or what you've lost. To them, you're just a number, just dollars on a spreadsheet. Their job is to pay you as little as possible. At WYDC Injury Law, we see the person behind the claim. We fight for your recovery, your future, and your peace of mind. If you've been hurt in New York, call 607-500-HURT.
When you're military, you reach a point in your career where you've traveled enough, and that was our situation, and we were ready to retire from the military, and we found a house here that we felt be a great environment for our children to grow up in. The process is, I would say, fairly easy. I've done it 3 times now, so I'm a repeat customer, and my message to veterans, active duty, retired, is that really seriously look at the VA home loan program. It has been transformational to my family because we were wanting to look for a home here in the DC area that we could settle down in, and building equity in the home is a big part of the program.
Home for me is family. It's a place where you know your neighborhood, you know your neighbors. It's not just a house, it's really what's around that makes it home.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Okay, a couple of viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I followed UFO reports since I watched men walking on the moon live. I've been afraid for decades to mention publicly my conclusion as to why the government can't disclose UFOs. Imagine an advanced civilization 1 billion years older than us. Can you imagine that we could be a science experiment at some alien university level? The experiment is only valid until those being experimented upon know that they are a part of it. The only reason I mention this now is because I've heard some hints of it lately from the government. That's the scary thing I think they're worried about. Religious people claim that they are demons. Perhaps they're right as well. I'm a Christian, by the way, with strong faith. My active mind tries to make everything fit, both a blessing and a curse. Well, thank you very much for that. We've been talking aliens a lot lately. I appreciate that. Ken writes in, that's a great point. They aren't asking kids to protect the power plants. They are telling them to. The kids that are actually in danger are the ones that don't comply. Here's a horrifying thought. When the kids surround a power plant to protect it, the crazy government might blow up the power plant themselves to be able to blame America and to help get the people to side with the government. You raise a great point there, because we see that when they obviously, like when Hamas stores their weapons in school buildings and hospitals, it is a tactic that is used. So yes, would the mainstream media pick up on it instantly? Yes. Would they want to blame America? Yes, even if it was Iran doing it. And let's say the information came out, it would always be presented with skepticism. Well, America claims that it was Iran that did it. President Trump claims that it was Iran that did it. So you raise a scary point, Ken, and one that I would not put past the Iranian regime to go and use those, especially if they're troubled protesters, use them as pawns for their propaganda machine. And again, I say it, and I've said it numerous times, it's sad how quick the mainstream media is quick to jump on and promote that propaganda. Now, according, who is this? RNZ. An international law expert says President Trump appears to be employing what is known as the madman theory in an attempt to end the war in Iran. Madman theory was a strategy brought to fame by Richard Nixon's unsuccessful attempt to end the Vietnam War. The strategy involves behaving in an irrational, erratic manner and threatening to go to extreme lengths to end a war or conflict. The idea is that you don't know whether the person will or won't do it, and the opposition will be scared into making a deal. In the case of either religious regimes or autocratic regimes, they don't they often don't have that fear. And that's where the concern is. They don't actually believe that the person is making, they don't believe the person making the threat. He said he did not believe the strategy would be successful because the Iranian regime did not care about what the U.S. did to its civilian population. Quote, Iran feels emboldened by Trump's increasingly extreme rhetoric. I think they almost want it right now. He doesn't respond in a rational way often. And the one thing that's certain is that he's a poor loser and he may lash out in unexpected ways. What a nice, unbiased article, huh? The madman theory. As I mentioned, Daily Beast, the far left Daily Beast, says top doctors are sounding the alarm on Trump over dementia signs. The president's unusually inflammatory post prompted people to reiterate concerns about his well-being that many, including Vin Gupta, have shared for months. Erratic, can't finish sentences, often confused, illogical train of thought, word-finding difficulties, developing and worsening gradually over time. The president is exhibiting all the signs of dementia. So this reminds us, 4 years under Biden, we're told, never mind what you see with your own eyes, never mind what you hear, never mind what you maybe experience about Biden's mental decline. Never mind all that. Believe what we have to say in the media. Now, fast forward to Trump's second term, and what do they say now? Never mind you see these hours-long press conferences and rallies, and you see him constantly speaking to the media and constantly speaking everywhere. Never mind what you're seeing there. Believe us when we say he's not healthy. Believe us because we don't like the language or the, I guess, the crux of his position on that Twitter post on Sunday. So now he has dementia because they don't like what he's saying. They're so easily predictable, aren't they? This has been happening because they got away, in their mind, with covering up Biden's mental health for 4 years. So now their argument is to say, well, you were mad at us for that, so now we're just putting extra scrutiny on the president. Or how about this? I know I've been mentioning it all morning long. Donald Trump has sparked another MAGA meltdown as his unhinged Easter message enrages Christians while former allies of the president accuse him of going, quote, insane. After skipping out at least 3 Easter events on Sunday, Trump, who identifies as a non-denominational Christian, took the Truth Social on Easter, but it wasn't a message about the Christian holiday that Trump delivered, and we know all about what he said, and we know all that. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was once one of Trump's staunchest allies. We know Marjorie Taylor Greene's still trying to stay relevant. She loves appearing on The View, on places like CNN. She urged Christians within the Trump administration to beg forgiveness from God following Trump's post as she accused them of being complicit in the president's madness. Man, Marjorie Taylor Greene, what must have been scorned one way or another. She has went extreme. Everyone in this administration that claims to be a Christian needs to fall on their knees and beg forgiveness from God and stop worshiping the president and intervene in Trump's madness. I know all of you and him, and he has gone insane, and all of you are complicit, said the former congressperson, who happened to retire right at the perfect time, so she got her pension. Marjorie Taylor Greene lecturing, because I know that's one thing they tell you to do in the Bible is judge fellow Christians. On Easter of all days, we as Christians should be reminded that the Son of God died and rose from the grave so that we can forgive once and for all, so that we can be forgiven once and for all for our sins. Jesus commanded us to love one another and forgive one another, even our enemies. So they're doing and this is what Marjorie Taylor Greene loves. And I hate to say it because I know we had some people that were fans of her one time. This is a whole piece with the headline, MAGA Christians turn on insane Trump and call for 25th Amendment after evil Easter message. And it's all based, 95% of it is based on Marjorie Taylor Greene, one person. The media is so predictable. Our president is not a Christian, and his words and actions should not be supported by Christians. Christians in the administration should be pursuing peace, urging the president to make peace. This is not making America great again. This is evil. Wow, she's getting good at lecturing. Greene wasn't the only MAGA member left enraged. I'm a 6-time Trump voter. I've devoted thousands of hours to defending him and helping him get elected. That being said, invoke the 25th and let's try to salvage anything we can from this disaster. America first. Now, who is this, though? the now former Trump supporter said in a second post. It doesn't say, oh, Vance Murphy. Who? Vance Murphy. Okay. So we've got Marjorie Taylor Greene, Vance Murphy, and then a guy named Clint Russell accused Trump of going insane and betraying MAGA, losing a ton of followers. Don't care. I'm right. You're wrong. This war is an abomination, and Trump is clearly insane. So that whole piece, 3 people, one of which we know only because she completely turned on the president, Marjorie Taylor Greene. The other we don't know, and that speaks for all of the MAGA movement. We've got one other thing on this, and then we're going to have to move through New York State issues relatively quickly. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Getting the right representation.
It matters.
Hiring a law firm whose focus is motor vehicle accident cases.
It matters.
Hiring a firm with the experience and resources to maximize your recovery.
It matters.
William Mattar is the largest motor vehicle accident firm in New York State. We got that way by winning. If you're hurt in a car, it matters who you hire. Call William Mattar. Visit WilliamMattar.com.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Accident. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
This year, WYDC is bringing you 25 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer. No fees and no subscription services. Tune into WJKP 48.2 to watch the New York Mets this MLB.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. One last piece on Iran, and then we'll move along here. As the deadline looms at 8 o'clock tonight, the New York Post editorial board suggests that if Iran won't budge, ramping up attacks, including on bridges and power plants, makes sense. According to the Post editorial board, that the deadline, 8 p.m. tonight. It's generous, more than generous, actually, they said. And then they go through some of those things. But Trump haters and the media claim such actions would constitute war crimes, and he's faced justice at a Nuremberg-style reckoning. Chris Van Hollen said many experts agree with such attacks would be war crimes, and others in the media echoed that, but it's utter nonsense, says the Post. For starters, taking out bridges to hobble an enemy is a basic wartime tactic. The Geneva and Hague Conventions do not limit wartime attacks to military objectives and protects objects normally dedicated to civilian purposes, like churches, residence schools, and medical clinics, assuming they are not being used to further military ends. So they're saying that it would be the only next logical step. Your thoughts on that? All right, when we come back and wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking, we have quite a few New York, last-second New York issues. I've got a press release here that we have to mention that I received from the New York State Corrections Officers and Police Benevolent Association. So we'll have that and get your last-second comments in, and we'll read them before we wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Whether you're in the market for new, used, or certified pre-owned, Simmons Rockwell locations across the Twin Tiers have more of what you're looking for with our best price right on the windshield. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
Tide isn't just a gentle ebb and flow. It's a mighty force of change. Just like the tide shapes our shorelines, we can shape our planet's future and protect the world's oceans from its biggest threats. Help us turn the tide. Join Oceania's wave of ocean advocates who are making a difference in the world.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. A quick breaking story on Iran, and then we're going to get to New York State issues. But Iran's supreme leader is unconscious and unable to be involved in any decision-making, is being reported. The 56-year-old supposed leader has not been seen since he was injured during the initial February 28th strike. That is because he's currently undergoing medical treatment for a severe condition in the holy city of Qom, roughly 87 miles south of Tehran. That's according to assessment obtained by the Times of London. So he is in severe condition, unable to get involved in any decision-making by the regime. Okay, now on the New York State issues. 2 Democrats have filed nominating petitions last week to force a primary in the 23rd Congressional District, which incumbent Representative Nick Langworthy's Republican challenger failed in his bid to get on the GOP primary ballot. And this is one that I've had some people reach out and say, why don't you do some interviews? I never do the interviews until the petitions, or try not to, until the petitions are filed, because anybody can declare that they are a candidate, but they have to go out and do the hard work and get the signatures. Olean Democrat Aaron, and I've heard this, and there's no disrespect, man, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Most people say Guys, but I heard someone pronounce it Geese the other day. So Olean Democrat Aaron Geese and Buffalo attorney Kevin Stocker each filed nominating petitions with the New York State Board of Elections in the 23rd Congressional District. Geese, a St. Bonaventure University associate professor in the Franciscan Studies Department, has also filed petitions to appear on the Working Families Party line in the November midterm election. Gee said he filed petitions with more than 8,000 signatures, nearly 6 times the number necessary, while Stocker said he submitted nearly 2,000 signatures. Congressional candidates on major parties are required to have at least signatures from at least 1,250 registered voters in the party. So this is interesting. There will be a primary that, of course, will eat into their funding. I would say, just from the peripheral, what I've seen, Geese is most likely the favorite, but there will be that primary. Now, on the Republican side, Jim King, a retired engineer from Owego, reported over the weekend that he failed to garner enough signatures to force a GOP congressional primary against Nick Langworthy, so he could not get the 1,250 signatures. Instead, King, a self-described moderate Republican, said he hopes to mount a write-in campaign. Oh, come on. He said he's targeting registered Republicans who have been embarrassed by the National Party and the incumbent they sent to Congress 4 years ago. First, he must obtain the signatures of 1,250 registered Republicans and file them with the State Board of Elections by April 16th. If a sufficient number of eligible signatures were included, it would force a GOP primary with a write-in opportunity King is looking for. Are they saying... Langworthy. This word is strange. Langworthy will have the 1,250 signatures, and I think they're actually due. I don't think they're due the 16th. I think they're actually due today. Could actually be the case. There's an interesting piece if you go to Empire Report. 5 things to know about Lee Zeldin as he looks to potentially be Trump's attorney general. Now, we all remember his time running for governor. He put the state GOP in reach of the executive mansion for the first time in decades. He's from Long Island. He's a Trump stalwart. He's a former U.S. Army military intelligence officer, congressman, and state senator, and he'll have plenty to answer for in a second Senate confirmation hearing, though he is rather well liked. And finally, we received this from the New York State Correctional Officers and Police Benevolent Association. Officers and National Guardsmen overcome by an unknown drug at the Mohawk Correctional Facility, and 1 female officer remains in intensive care. 3 officers and 2 National Guardsmen at a medium-security correctional facility were hospitalized after being exposed to an unknown substance found on papers inside an envelope brought by a visitor. The exposure occurred yesterday as the officers were processing the visitor in the lobby of the facility. Upon opening the envelope, which contained papers soaked in the unidentified substance, the officers and nearby guardsmen began to experience symptoms including headaches, dizziness, difficulty breathing, and vomiting. The affected personnel were immediately treated by the facility's medical staff, were being transported to Rome Hospital as their symptoms worsened. 1 female officer required sedation, ultimately being placed in the intensive care unit. The other officer and National Guardsmen were monitored for extended symptoms, being released from the hospital. A hazmat team and the state police were called to the facility to investigate. The state police transported the female visitor back to the Marcy Barracks, where she was charged with promoting prison contraband. The envelope and papers received and are pending tests for presence of illicit drugs. Brian Haluska, Central Regional Vice President, emphasized the daily risks faced by corrections officers, saying, quote, correctional officers constantly put their health and safety on the line every single day. In this tragic incident, a visitor smuggled a dangerous and potentially deadly substance into the facility. Because of their unwavering commitment to duty, we now have 1 officer in the ICU sedated. This is the brutal daily reality for our members as they risk everything to keep contraband out of our prisons, often without any idea that lethal substances that they might encounter. Smuggling techniques are getting more sophisticated by the day, and the flood of potent drugs into these environments has become a deadly crisis. Well, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everybody who joined us. Tonight is that 8 o'clock deadline, so I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about Iran on tomorrow's broadcast. So join us every weekday morning, starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning bright and early. I look forward to it already.
When you spend 100 years building chainsaws, you get really good at building chainsaws. So when Steel built the mower, we built the chainsaw mowers. New blade, same bloodline.